The County of Newell Municipal Planning Commission meeting for December the 5th, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting to order and see no absences. Adoption of the minutes in your package. Our last meeting was November 21st. Any errors or omissions? What about a motion to approve? Adina? Adina moves approval of those minutes as circulated. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Are there any post-agenda items? Staff, MPC, thank you. Development permits, 6.1. Thank you, Shanley. Go ahead.
Thank you. Development permit 2024027 is for the intensification of a campground and the existing buildings. The campground is seasonal and there's no storage or usage of the parcel for the winter months with the exception of access to the reservoir when it's frozen. The existing development was brought to the attention of the Planning Development Department through an assessment review in 2023. There's no development or building permits for any of the buildings on the parcel apart from an electrical permit for adding power to the campsites 2013. In 1984, there was a development permit issued to Crawling Valley and with a site plan that's included in your package, but there was no buildings included in that site plan or that development permit. According to assessment, there's an office and 135 campsites in 1985, and all the other structures were constructed or installed after 2005. Currently, the parcel includes 155 recreational vehicle sites and 7 tenting sites, as well as several buildings that are listed on the report. The applicant and representatives from Park Enterprises, our inspection agency, have taken tours of the parcel to decide what construction permits are required, and those are in the works right now. There is 2 buildings that are closer to the road than what is allowed in the land use bylaw, so we're requesting a variance for those. They are located 1.7 meters from the road. There was no issues or concerns from staff. There was no response from adjacent landowners. We're recommending approval with conditions, and Nathan from the EID is here to respond to questions.
Thank you, Shanley. Nathan, would you like to come forward? Thanks for coming today, being on the hot seat. Municipal Planning Commission are known to be tough, so.
Yeah.
Good morning. Do you know everybody around the table?
I do.
Okay, wonderful. Questions on this application? Nathan came all the way over here. Neil.
No question, just a comment. This is fantastic. Keep pounding into those campgrounds.
Yeah. Thanks, Neil. Holly.
Good morning. I'm a little confused because Crawling Valley Society, I think, applied for this initially. And you're doing the variance request. So who runs it? Who manages it? Because a lot of things got lost for a lot of years on all these permits. So give me some history, please.
Power up your mic.
Sorry, the EID still owns the land and the campground. The Crawling Valley Recreational Society has an agreement in place with us that they operate and manage the day-to-day tasks out there. However, I'm in charge of overseeing the management out there.
Adina.
Okay, so who took on the responsibility of developing without any permits? Was it the EID or the Crawling Valley Society?
I guess it defaults to the EID, that the development. How the agreement works is that the Crawling Valley Recreational Society makes application to us for any development or expansion that they would like. We review it internally and then I guess okay it. So at the end of the day, the responsibility is the EID's.
Okay, so now that you're on it, it probably won't happen again, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's why we're here, right? To make sure this is all in compliance and make sure the permits are in place, and then any future expansion, should we want out there, would obviously be done through the proper channels.
Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, Greg.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Nathan, do you know if there's, maybe outside the scope of this, but do you know if there's any other developments out there that wouldn't have permits done? And is there any way we can get in front of these before an assessment's done or something like that? I would encourage the ID to get those up to date. But do you know of anything else that maybe we should be knowing about?
Yeah, I don't know any offhand right now, but yes, that's certainly for me I've been tasked with that, to make sure that any buildings or development that we're proceeding with in the future does go through the proper channels, development permits, building permits, and all that stuff, and make sure those are in compliance.
Thanks, Nathan. Just a shout out, I guess, to the volunteers on the Crawling Valley Board. They're 40 years old this year. That's pretty impressive. They've built this between them and the EID, have built this into a little summer village, which is great economic development for the northwest side of the county. We certainly appreciate all the hard work that goes into that. Any other questions? Okay, maybe. How would you like to handle this application? Ellen?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the development permit 2024027 with conditions.
Thank you. Any further conversation, questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of Ellen's motion? That is carried. Thanks for coming in, Nathan, and answering the tough questions today. Much appreciated. We have an item 7, other business. Although we didn't hear of any other business, seeing no hands, we had no post-agenda items. Any questions or for question period, Catherine? Nothing online. Any reason for in-camera, MPC? Seeing none, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Seeing that we're all here, there's no one that needs to be excused from the meeting. We have the minutes of the November 21st, 2024 meeting circulated. Are there any errors or omissions or a motion to approve the minutes as circulated? Amanda, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Are there any post-agenda items? Seeing none, we have, I'll note, delegations at 10:45 with Cole Steinley, and at 11:30 we have a public hearing, and then at 11:45 we have a few people coming in with Stuart for fire recognition, services recognition. So those are the three public or delegations that we have. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as circulated? Neil, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Question period or notices of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion, or are there any questions online? Seeing none, we'll carry on to the interim budget, number 10. Let's go to item number 10.1, our interim budget. Matt, do you want to take us through the details there, please?
Yes, good morning, Reeve and Council. It's that time of year again where Council is in a position to approve the interim budget for 2025. We've been together a few times to review. Falling out of the last review session, we did make some changes both to the long-term forecast here. So we've removed the splash park for Emerson Bridge Park, and we have included funding for the grandstand replacement up in Patricia at the rodeo grounds, and included funding for paving the rail crossings there. I'm going to assume that Council's had a chance to read through the RFD. I will just restate some of the key assumptions that we've used in preparing the 2025 interim budget. So we're targeting a net municipal property tax revenue increase of just under 2.5%, or an additional $822,000. Utility rates increase by around 3%, adding a couple of bucks onto the per trip rider fee for the minibus. An increase in staff capacity of 0.67 full-time equivalents, and a 2% cost of living adjustment for employees. So if there are questions, I'm happy to take a stab at answering them, but we are recommending for approval the 2025 interim budget as presented.
Thank you, Matt. Are there questions from anyone in Council? Holly, go ahead, please.
I have a few. The first one was, is there a reason the Scandia elevator was not included in the budget?
The Scandia elevator is included in the budget.
It's not specifically as an add-on. Is that because it was discussed previously? I wasn't clear on that.
Okay. Yes, that's correct. It was included in the draft that you would have reviewed a few weeks ago.
And secondly, the discussion about, so it's kind of 2026, but it was discussed at our budget meeting, is the Emerson Park bike path, motocross. There's been a lot of things kind of thrown around, and I don't think we had a long enough discussion to determine what exactly we were looking at. I don't think it's fair to Ag Services to kind of say, look at this, and I don't know if we've really given clear direction. So I was going to talk a bit more about what people's idea we were asking Ag Services to do, because going for the 26 budget would be.
Okay, thanks, Holly. Adina, please.
I thought we decided a dirt pump track was decided.
Matt, go ahead.
That was my understanding. The dollar amount that's included in the 2026 forecast year, for all intents and purposes, is really a placeholder. You can expect to see, as we move into budget planning conversations for the 2026 budget, an opportunity to tighten that up. So whether it remains as an engineered bike track, or we go to a dirt set of hills, we can get specific with that. That was the only placeholder left for 2026. So there will be an opportunity to get detailed on what the expectations are, but currently administration's impression is it will be a dirt bike track of some kind.
But nothing in the budget for the 2025 proposed budget, so it's, yeah, okay, thanks. Greg, please.
Yeah, my question is with regards to 5 and 10 Rec Board funding. From what I understand is that just confirming that it wasn't approved, the additional 30,000 from 70,000 to 100,000. I do have a question on the inflationary increase. Was that also not granted, or is the inflationary increase each year going to be able to be accepted in the budget?
Yeah, the 100,000 is in budget for 5 and 10. So yeah, the 30,000 increase that was requested is included in the interim budget.
Okay, thanks. Kelly? Oh, thanks. Dan?
I thought we were going to debate that again before we actually carried ahead on the 510 rec budget. When we did Rolling Hills, we came in with financials and capital plans and made an agreement. And I was under the understanding that we were kind of working towards that with all of our partners. That we were going to be sitting down working on agreements that would just be done rather than having people coming in asking for lump sum increases over the future. Are we planning on doing that, or are we just going to let Rolling Hills get it started and then give up on everybody else?
Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, when the grant applications come in, we ask for, like, we don't know who's going to apply. It'll likely be Silver Sage, Lake No Resort, maybe Castle, something will come up. But they have to provide financials.
So that's a difference to the Rolling Hills process, or is it the same one? Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, so I can provide some insight. Administration has had conversations with the Lake Newell Resort Community Association moving towards an agreement. They're not in a position where they wanted to enter into that for 2025, but it is an ongoing conversation for 2025. Their preference was to leave it with the established rec board, Div 5 and 10. So that board would still meet, review the applications, award grant funding as the rec board saw fit.
Okay, thank you. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, Dan, I just clarification. What? So when Div 5 and 10 Rec Board meets, all the financials are brought into play for that funding, granting those funds to the various organizations that come to us. Is it different with Rolling Hills than what? So whose financials are? What's the difference, I guess? What is between the 5 and 10 and the Rolling Hills?
Go ahead, Dan.
So Div 1 had an agreement where they would get, I believe it was at that point, 100,000, no, 90-something thousand. That was their yearly allotment. And that was enough. And if they needed an increase, they would come in and make their case for an increase. But what we did, we got all of our finances together from all of the associations that pull money. We did a long-term capital plan for what we're going to need for money in the future. And then we came in and said that this is the amount that we would need to increase, and we backed it up with our financials. And let's have an agreement so that we can just increase this with the inflation every year, and that we don't have to come back in 5 years, 10 years and say, we're down and we need to do this all over again. So that we're set. We're done. We won't be coming back and asking for any more money. Every year our allotment's going to just automatically increase by the 2% inflation.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments about this? Holly, go ahead.
I do understand where Dan is coming from, and I see where you're coming from, Greg, and it's kind of very different. because you have 3 groups who come in, and you kind of decide when they come in, if I'm right, like Lake Newell Resort, Silver Sage, and Castles, right? Yeah, so how do we determine the amount of money? Because Rolling Hills come in with all their financials and plans and capital plans, and you're going to more thing, we'll see what comes forward. So they're very different models, and it does make them hard to fund equitably when we're looking at that. And I don't have an answer, but it's equitable funding is difficult.
Okay, thank you. Neil?
Yeah, you're right about about that one, Holly. But being that Silver Sage is here, a lot of that funding is provided by 5 and 10, but it is the only thing in the county next to the arena that caters probably more to the county than to the town and to Division 5 and 10. So we could use 100,000 every year at Silver Sage.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Matt, you've got...
Yeah, and if council recalls back to the budget planning in July, the background information that was provided then was Div 5 and 10 have received the $70,000 allocation for about a decade, which is where the request for the increase came, similar to what Rolling Hills came in and requested, bumping from 90 to the 120. In my mind, it would be preferable to have an agreement with an association. That's something we're working towards. We'd like to accomplish that in Tilly as well, as another one that is outstanding. At the end of the day, in both areas, Rolling Hills, you have the Ag Society who's acting as the rec board and dispersing those funds. In Div 5 and 10, you have an established rec board with the authority to go through their process, accept applications, and approve funding as that rec board sees fit.
Okay, thank you. Neil? Go ahead.
Clarification too, the question we had was about the $6,000 donation that the Silver Sage made to whatever charity. That was definitely an oversight. They're out trying to raise their profile because they're going to be going into pretty heavy fundraising to get the plans that they made. But it wasn't intentional. It was just nobody even thought of it. That's how it went through, and that's the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you. Lynette, please.
Well, the Silver Sage continues, though, because they did donate to the turkey drive, too.
Okay, thank you. Holly?
You know, it would be nice to see a capital plan from the Silver Sage, just for our knowledge as well, what they're planning. I mean, it's a great facility. You know, what are they thinking?
I think we will probably have a presentation from them sometime in the new year, I expect, because they do have some plans that they want to share with us at some point, I believe.
It's another community hall. Another community hall just to drive me crazy.
It's intentional, yeah. Dan, go ahead.
Being that there is no agreement and whatnot, and you're still running on the same procedure of coming in and asking for money and making your case, and the case being that you're at a funding shortfall, but at the same time giving $6,000 and giving money to charities at the end of the year, I don't see a shortfall, and I would say I would lean to not approve that increase. So I don't know if we need to make a motion to make that back to 70,000 in the budget, or how would that work to make that change back to 70?
Okay, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, a motion would do it. Yeah.
Okay.
That if you're going to approve the budget as amended, you know, with the and you should probably take the question on the 100,000 being rolled back to 70, have the vote on that, and then when that passes, you can look at approving the budget either as approved or amended.
Okay, right. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, you know that Division 5 and 10 Rec Board are given the responsibility to make those decisions as far as granting funding and not granting funding to the various stakeholders. Individual decisions that are made for one of the specific group should be done by 5 and 10 and not by council. And the reason for the increase to the 100,000 was brought by the board due to ongoing expenses that have to be applied for each year, specifically for Lake Newell Resort, for maintenance of the beach, upkeep of the beach, porta potties, those kind of things, sprinklers to keep that area beautified for everyone to use. So those are ongoing expenses that are occurring each year that have to be applied for every year. We have not seen an increase in over 10 years, inflationary included. So this would kind of bring us back up to what we require each year, and then we make the decisions with the various stakeholders for whatever's left over after we make those decisions with respect to the porta potties and the sand and the upkeep of that beach that everybody uses.
Okay, thanks, Greg. I think just so that we all are thinking the same way with regard to the procedure here, this is we're looking for approval of the interim budget, and we will have 1 or 2 more opportunities before we consider a final budget in March, I guess, April, yeah. Go ahead, Matt, yeah.
So for council, the important thing to understand and appreciate about the interim budget being approved, pardon me, if there are items that you're uncomfortable with or don't want staff putting any energy into, we need to pull those out. Once interim budget is approved, especially on the capital projects, we get to work on drafting tender documents and leaning into it. We assume what's approved in interim will be approved in final. Like we don't roll back what's been approved in interim. You do have a window if we haven't taken action and started spending money on some of those things to roll it back, but best practice is if it's in interim, it's in the work plan for 2025. And then final budget really just looks at your property tax revenue and any additional spending that council has approved between January 1st and when we approve final, and any other surprises that might walk in the door. But interim budget should be a good budget that our administration can get to work on. So coming back to the Div 5 and 10, if you don't want to spend the additional 30, you should resolve that today, and we should either pull it out or settle on leaving it in.
Thanks for that clarification, Matt. Where do you want to go? Councillor Kelly, go ahead, please.
So in light of the 10, 12 years, I've heard 2 numbers that the rate has not increased. The facilities have not increased, but the cost of doing business has. I would like to make a motion that we increase Lake Newell Resort, Div 5 and 10 recreation grant from 70,000 to 85,000 for the ensuing year to the budget. That's my motion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Basically, you're suggesting we cut the increase in half from what we had in there. Is there further discussion? Greg, please.
Okay, thank you, Kelly, for that. This year, I think for this budget, I think that's acceptable in my end. It's also we need to address the inflationary increase each year. Cost of everything is going up each year, and yeah, I think it's important to have that as part of the motion.
Thanks, Greg. Go ahead, Kelly.
And if I could encourage the rec board to encourage their facility operators to come up with an operating plan, I think that would be very substantial towards this conversation in the future. I also noticed, I'll just put a plug in for Rec Connect at this moment, because we're talking recreation. It's up, it's live. I did a bit of a dive into it this week, and none of the recreation facilities in Div 5 and 10 participate in that. So just an FYI to facility operators, it is a free offering that the county is putting out there to get business into their rec facilities. So pay attention to that as well. That's my advice.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kelly. Neil?
Yeah, I agree with Greg. I think 85 is a decent enough compromise for this year. We'll review it again next year and see where we go.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Ellen, please.
Just for clarification, is the 2% inflation included in the motion then, or is it not?
It's out, okay. Well, we've cut the allocation in half for, if we pass this motion. Any other questions already for the motion, or question? All in favor of the motion that we, oh, go ahead.
One quick question, is that motion going to increase it to 85 ongoing, or is it just for this year, and they'll come back? Is this just for this year?
Yeah, it's for the 2025 budget only.
Which the whole budget is just for the year. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, and just for clarity, administration starts a next year's budget from last year's budget. So you will see that 85. Administration's going to assume we're at 85, and we're going to continue that for future budgets. Each year you'll have a chance to kick it around, though.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Dan?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted. So it is recurring. It's moved to 85 permanently now. I don't like that Rolling Hills had to go through all of the extra work, but didn't have to. We could have kept going status quo, but we were encouraged to work towards an agreement. I don't like that we had to do all this work, and then 510 just comes in and says, yeah, we'd like to go up to 100, and we get it approved. Oh, and we'd like to have that too. The work hasn't been done, it hasn't been proven, and I'm not okay with that at all. I think if we're gonna be doing things like this, we need to be treating all of our divisions equally, and this isn't that. I think we need to be giving everybody the same opportunities and giving them the same fairness in treatment. And just to come in and say, yeah, we want this is not enough. Come in, show us why you need it. And that's our job here, is to figure out if it's fair and if it's not fair. And that's what we're doing right now, and we need to keep doing that. So I think if we're going to be increasing it and giving a cost of living or an inflation adjustment, then it needs to come in, make a case, and show us that's what you need. As far as giving a little extra for this year, then yeah, I guess if you need it, you say you do, but I still don't see it because there's money given to charity at the end of the year. So where's the funding shortfall? Make your case for the funding shortfall.
Okay, just one clarification. I'll take Lynette then, but this isn't ongoing. Every year we have a budget discussion, and whatever those numbers end up being will be decision of council throughout the whole budget. So we're just dealing with the 2025 budget number. I mean, admittedly, as Matt said, the staff will carry on from where we were, but that's only because it's an anchor point. It's not that the decision is made every year. So this isn't we're dealing with this for this year. That's the motion. So Lynette, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to bring up the fact that they run very differently. The Rolling Hills is all under the Ag Society, so the Ag Society came to this council. We have Division 5 and 10 have a board that are doing the thing that council did for Rolling Hills. So that's Greg and Neil and whoever else is on that board. There's some members at large on that board that makes those decisions. So that's where the financials come to, is to them, not directly to us. So it's just being handled very different. So if we want to try and get everybody being handled the same way, we need to do some policy changing then with the way that board is and stuff.
Okay, thanks, Lynette, for that clarification. Neil?
Yeah, that's right, Lynette, but we don't know what's coming in every year. Like 5 and 10 doesn't have a plan that we're going to do this or do that. You have to wait and see if Lake Noel comes in or Castles or somebody out of the blue, and then we go through all this process as for the financials. It's not the same as Rolling Hills.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Holly and then Dan.
But I think, Neil, when you're saying we're going to see we don't have a plan, that's a real detriment to 5 and 10. Like I think of my rec boards run a bit different, but everybody knows what's kind of coming up. At the meeting, we talk about plans for next year, so nothing's a surprise. And perhaps your board would benefit from a little more structured planning for future. That would probably assist in looking for increased funding.
How do we pull that off though? Like we run out to castles, we do this, we do that. We really don't, we don't know what these little areas are going to come up with. There is no communication.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Holly.
That would be my point. There needs to be communication. There needs to be planning. Like our rec board sits down and talks to the different organizations. We know what's kind of coming because we say, what are you planning on doing next year? You think you're going to need funding? And, you know, I know what Rainier is planning on doing. I know Bow City. I know Scandia. I know the park. Like that's just part of the job, I think, is figuring out what is needed. And then you can have a capital plan. That would really help. That'd really be helpful, I think, Neil.
Yeah, it probably would. But I mean, we're kind of tied in with Brooks to take care of 99% of what you just mentioned. If you peeled Silver Sage out and peeled the Castles Hall out, there's really not that much left. Yeah, it's way easier.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
So my question was in response to what you had said. You don't know what's coming up. So how do you know you need 100,000 instead of 70?
No, I agree. Sorry.
Go ahead, Greg.
So I agree with the planning, and I do, and we will be going back to the 3 different user groups of that 5 and 10 rec board: Silver Sage, Castles, Lake No Resort, and have them come to us with some kind of plan. I've just noticed that ongoing expenses and requests, especially from Lake No Resort, they have a plan as far as what they for sure need each year, and it's increased. The costs are increasing. These are done by volunteers also, so we don't have access to any other money. We can't get as far as Lake No Resort goes, can't get an ag service, ag funding at all. We can't be approved for that. So, the 5 and 10 rec board is our only option for going after rec funding for ongoing expenses that we're doing. Your other places, you have an opportunity to make money somehow, renting it out. I get that you have revenue coming in. Each specific facility that requires money through the rec board from every one of the divisions has an opportunity to make money, except for Lake No Resort. We have no opportunity to grow in any way that way. So we're 100% reliable on the rec funding, and when there's increases each year, where does that come from? It comes from not being able to do any special projects that we wanted to do. So I just wanted to put it out there that, there's no other access to additional funding.
Okay, thanks, Greg. I think we kind of have 2 things going on here. One, we're trying to decide what we're going to do on the interim budget for this coming year, 2025. And the other one is maybe some procedural activity in terms of how reporting is done to us and through rec boards. That can be handled outside of this budget procedure just by encouraging a different process, it seems to me. So we have a motion on the floor to increase the interim budget to $85,000 for Division 5 and 10. I'm going to call a question unless someone has another discussion or further questions. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. Opposed? Okay, that is carried. Thank you. Now, do we have a motion? Are there any other discussions around the interim budget? Holly, go ahead, please.
I just want to go back to the fire staffing. I'm just challenged to understand how we can go from 1.5 positions to 3 full-time positions. And I understand that Stu wasn't able to complete everything, that he's got too much on his plate, but I need some explanation of how we need to double the staff. I'm just not picking up on that. Thank you.
Thanks. Holly, go ahead. Matt.
Yeah, so I'll repeat what we've already said, and maybe it'll land a different way. There's about 600 hours of work we estimate to complete the community inspections, which you haven't accomplished that. It's a service level that's been set, and we failed to meet that. You will be seeing, and there should be additional effort put into the Regional Emergency Agency Committee, REAC. You'll be seeing the Newell Regional Emergency Plan presented to you at next council meeting. There is a lot of work that goes into that fire service with 10 fire halls, over 100 volunteers. Training is another area that requires some extra capacity. So whether council approves the FTE for the deputy fire chief, which is, I'll remind you again, a common position to have in a fire service. You're surrounded by municipalities which have that position, that support. The deputy fire chief, and it's not the most important piece, but they will provide backup to the fire chief when they are on vacation. Currently, your community's at risk when that is out. Is it the only way to achieve the outcomes? No, we could look at bumping up a contracted service, GL, by an amount and take it that way. My recommendation is the deputy fire chief will be a good investment for the community. It'll create the workload balancing that we're looking to achieve for our fire chief as well. The big piece really is getting through the community buildings being inspected and meeting that service level, the training, meeting that service level, and then the backup for our chief.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Holly.
So are these community inspections required of us? If we don't do them, who else would do them?
Go ahead, Matt.
Is the question, if we didn't complete them with our own staff, who could we engage?
Yeah, and who requires us to do them? Where is like I said, is that where does it fall in the law? I'm just curious.
Go ahead, Adina.
I'd like to give an example. For example, his inspection on the hydrants, all the paperwork didn't get done, and so residents in Tilly were paying more for insurance because the insurance companies weren't getting their paperwork on the hydrants, for example.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Kelly, go ahead, please.
Also, our commercial buildings, our community buildings, this liability all falls on us through the MGA. Fire services is one of our core services that we provide. Maybe we should go to all gravel roads and just provide a basic service there. This is how I see this fire personnel position. A basic service or a service that we can be proud of and get some service delivery. We're sorely lacking in it. We had a community hall or a hall in Bassano that was recently fire inspected, $125,000 worth of upgrades. And we're having public rent that facility and not being safe. We need to do our job, and our job is fire safety. One of them is fire safety. I'm in favor of this.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion on this, on the interim budget, Neil?
I kind of agree with Kelly there. I'm not in favor of it at all, but I'm going to vote for it because we're in a position where we have no choice.
Okay, thank you. Adina?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the interim budget as amended.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor of approving the interim budget as amended, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to suggest we move to item number 11.1. Mr. Cole Steinley is with us. If you'd take the chair, we'd appreciate that. Welcome, Cole.
Thank you very much, Reeve and Council. Short one today, it's not too in-depth. In that, I'll give you a little bit of an update on your Hamlet distribution and wastewater systems, namely Lake Newell Resort Lift Station. We have successfully installed the second pump back into that lift station. It is going. We had a little bit of a hiccup in the electrician kind of wired it up incorrectly, so we had a couple days where it wasn't working as it should, but it has all been sorted out and working as it should be. And like I mentioned in my last report, we had ordered that new pump, so now we have 3 that we can use in that 2-pump system. So we should, regardless of maintenance and repairs on those pumps, we should have 2 in service at all times, redundancy built in, so the risk for that lift station is greatly reduced moving forward. And I think that's the outcome we wanted all along, so thanks to everybody on that one. I appreciate it. I just wanted to reiterate from my last report that we were in the process of doing our fall maintenance. It has all been completed, so that includes lift station cleanouts for the 4 hamlets that have lift stations, distribution flushing in Tilly and Lake Newell Resort, and the fire hydrant winterization for those 2 communities as well. That has all been complete. Minor little bit of information concerning the County of Newell Water Project. The EID, of course, intermittently does some installation of pipelines instead of getting away from the canal kind of type system. So when they install pipelines, they sometimes need to lower some of the County of Newell Water Project lines to accommodate crossings. So we've supervised 2 of those in the recent weeks, and I think there's a couple more coming up, but they're pretty minor, just kind of 1-day type things, and we just go to supervise to make sure that's done properly and it goes smoothly. So that was what's up on when it comes to the County of Newell Water Project.
Thank you, Cole. Are there any questions for Cole? Seeing none, thanks for your report this morning.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. And if I don't see most of you before the new year, happy New Year's.
And
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Happy New Year. Might see you at a hockey game. Okay, with that, let's move on to item number 11.2.1. Mr. Mark Harbrink, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Update from Municipal Services. So Alberta Traffic Safety Calendar priorities were child safety restraints, pedestrian safety, wildlife, and winter driving. As you know, it is now winter driving. Winter has shown up. It came in fast and furious. About 8 inches of snow blanketed the entire region. So that's been a focus. 20 warnings, 17 tickets, over 24 investigations for the past month for municipal enforcement. And unfortunately, we had to assist RCMP and emergency services in 2 motor vehicle collisions. I believe the one had a fatality and the other one wasn't. But unfortunate for the region to start off that end of November that way, leading into the Christmas season. Fleet services, we're still waiting on our new gravel/plow truck. The big thing from the manufacturer is due to transmission shortage. I don't really have an exact cause from that, but sometimes it has to do with actions down in the United States, potentially around military activity and whatnot. So the transmissions are not in, and we're delayed in receiving our new truck. And we're not really at a state where we want to change our transmission out for something different than what we have in the rest of our fleet. So operationally, major snowfall event that everybody's aware of. Crews were busy through the weekend. Hate to report that, but yes, there are equipment failures when you don't want them. That is a result that happens of being in the service level. Having those backup plans, of course, we do our best with everything as timely as we can to deliver. Reminder for council that generally takes 3 days or 72 hours to open all roads, and then they get to make a second pass to wing back everything in the ditches. If we're not getting those 3 days, I'll just say that 8 inches of snow on the road, that becomes one of those contentious matters. If it's beyond it, we can be delayed in getting that service, but 8 inches and below generally is 72 hours. We do have some hiccups from time to time. We try to work through it. We have contractors on standby, and or if other operators get their area done, we will move them up or around to assist and get service levels in place as best we can. Truck drivers, same things, responding to the same snow events, obviously higher speeds on our paved roads and whatnot. So they work through the weekend, taking care of things as best they can. The sand that goes down on the road has a 5% salt content in it. Minus 18 salt's not going to be working to help fight ice, so we just keep doing our best with making sure roads are safe and passable for the motoring public. Yeah, 2 tons were also out in the hamlets moving snow over that weekend and whatnot, and working into the week. That snow that was piled in the hamlets has or is currently being removed from them, getting those piles out of there so that we have snow storage for future events and whatnot. But I do feel that we did pretty good across the board on things. We had a couple areas where we were a little bit behind on service level, but we did get things caught up and whatnot. Only a couple of customer service requests were received through the office on this, so I think we did pretty good. First event of the year is always an exciting time for all of us because we hope to deliver, but sometimes we're not quite there.
Mark, just a question. And we've discussed this in the past, but I don't recall all of the details. Do you prioritize bus routes?
Bus routes are not prioritized. There are 4 more buses out there than what we have graders. So what we're looking at on our priority maps is in and around the major centers. So if you're looking at Bazzano, it's going to be things in and around Bazzano and picking off those areas that more residential development stuff is in, because that's where the customers are at before we get out to the more remote things where industry may or may not be working. We just kind of stage out from those kinds of things. So in your case, south of GEM is a priority and immediately around GEM because of the number of residences in and around that. And then we start getting into the northern and westerly and easterly lying areas where there's less residences.
Yeah, my question about the bus routes is there's exceptions to I understand generally because of the number of buses that you couldn't, but are there certain circumstances where it might be worth looking at that? Because I'm aware of some areas, and it probably happens in the outer regions more, where buses meet to exchange passengers, you know, 2 or 3 buses in the same, on a gravel road. Okay. Is that a consideration that might be worth looking at?
It hasn't been anything brought forward from Grasslands or the Catholic School Division to us as being a problem, so we haven't brought that forward for a customer service or level of service change with council. So,
okay. And I'm not suggesting that it needs to be a policy change. I would say that's operational. That's not.
Okay.
That's not policy. Go ahead.
I have a question. You mentioned Bazzano. Do we, as the county, grade the old number 1 highway that scoots, you know, that horseshoe-shaped old number 1 highway?
The pavement?
The pavement, yes.
With plow trucks, yes, we do.
We do, okay.
Yeah.
And that was just for my information. Next question is, do we have a pile of treated sand and untreated with salt? Or
no, it's always 5% pickled salt, and we purchase direct off of Volker, so we don't go through the environmental process of managing salt sand on our own property. So we're stacked up with their trucks, and we're just getting into the cycle. They don't take priority over us, and we don't take priority over them. We just get in the lineup, and when one of our trucks gets up there, they get loaded and go. If we're fighting ice and it's really bad, if you go back a decade ago when I think it was Trans-Canada Highway had like 2 inches of solid packed ice on there, you'll mix it hot. You'll go to the sand pile, you'll grab a bucket of sand, and you'll start putting it in, then a couple loads of the pickled stuff, and then throw more salt in. And then as it goes through the conveyor and stuff, it blends itself off. But that's when you start dealing with extreme situations. We don't want more salt down on the roads than necessary because that's environmental. I know down in the US, they use what you call rock salt. It is literally big gobs of rock. It is salt, and they have contaminated just about all other freshwater sources as reported through the American Public Works Association. So once we reach 500 tons on a 3-year average of using salt on our roads, we have to start reporting that federally. We are below that average, so we have not had to report in the 16 years that I've been here. So I'd like to keep it that way, and some of the contributing factors is not using salt in our hamlets, but using the 5/8 inch chips for traction purposes.
Good. So
Thank
my
you.
question was, because it would be cheaper to do it without the salt. And when
Yeah.
it's cold, like you said, it's not effective
Right.
anyway. So I'm hopeful that you're using the sand.
It's the same product we apply at all times through the winter season. That's what Volker orders in. They don't have a pile of this and a pile of that.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
So from experience, we used to have both piles.
Okay.
And because of course the non-salted treatment is cheaper,
Yeah.
less expensive. So just a thought.
Okay.
One more question, go ahead.
In general, do the graders still just stay in their own areas that they normally?
Generally, yes, because the workload has been balanced out at approximately 180 kilometers per grader beat, so they should almost be on the same timeline to get things done. I'll just remind council, we've got 2 new staff members in our grading operator complement, and they're still learning and getting familiar with the roads, and winter with 8 inches of snow it's being monitored and managed, and there's some areas of improvement to seek out there, and training will be brought in, and we've paired them up with some of our more experienced operators to help bump their speeds up and stuff and get them to where we need them to be. But as we know, the first winter is always the most challenging one as they get familiar with things. So rather have a grader on the road driving slower than a grader in the ditch not being productive because they were going too fast. So.
Okay, thank you.
Just further to that, there was no complaints or anything. Everything was good. I was just curious.
Just for the added information, that's what we're managing with at this time. So additionally to that, maintenance operators, so 21 signed work orders have been completed. The culvert GPS collection, so kind of thought we might have around 5,500 or 5,600 culverts out there. I'm not saying that staff found them all, because there are definitely some ones out there that don't really exist because they're all blocked off and you can't see the end of the culvert, but 6,020 culverts have been collected, plus minus 88,444 meters of culvert is what you have out there. There's going to be a significant dollar figure behind what that is valued at, and what we're on the hook for future replacing is with our taxpayers. So we're working through that and how we can look at the future of managing that, similar to what we do with bridges, get into condition assessments, inspections, those sorts of things. So significant accomplishment, finally getting that checked off the list. 2 additional snow fence locations were installed, and yeah, maintenance operators are the guys that run the 2 tons in the hamlets pushing up that snow, and then they work as a team with the 3-ton dump truck and the loader to run between the communities and get those snow piles out of there. So just note, thanks to the seasonal operator or seasonal maintenance, seasonal laborer that stayed on board with us, as well as the agricultural services staff member that assisted with getting culverts collected. Got them done literally the week that the snow started to fly, so that was great timing keeping them on and not something to carry forward. Water project, construction continues, substantial completion requests from the contractor. We've gone up from 40% to 66% complete in that contract 3. So again, notices will be going out as soon as we can bring people on board. Due to the Canada Post strike though, those information circulations, we'll do our best to get people notified that they can be turned on as timely as possible. Revised contract date for December 20th under contract 3. We approved that extension. They're making progress. There's no reason to take any other action on that whatsoever.
So just a question, was that an extension? Like it was supposed to be done before?
Yes, it was supposed to be done before, yeah.
Yeah. Are you confident that they're going to make it?
From my supporting management team and the engineers, that's the deadline. So it looks like they're on track. Hopefully nothing results in further delays that is unseen. So
Okay, thanks.
contract 4 progressing as always, and they'll be shutting down for Christmas break and whatnot, and then getting kicked back off sometime in January in the new year. Their contract spring of 2025, so we don't have any concerns over that one. Kinbrook Connection Pathway, it's under winter.
Just another question. Sorry, Mark.
Just before you change subjects, is there any penalty to these constant extensions?
I would have
phase
to refer to the manager on that. I don't know the contract offhand, so.
Thank you.
Kinbrook Connection Pathway, Stage 2 under winter shutdown. Not all the work was complete. The topsoil has not all been pulled in against the asphalt, things like that. So it's got road closure barricades up, and public are encouraged to stay off of it at this time, being it's incomplete and under the contractor's purview. Lake Newell Resort Pathway, that's been tendered. We're going to go with a 2-week tender. There was a request from one of the interested parties to extend by a week. We have granted that extension to the tendering timeline. We will maybe have that in front of council for the Christmas council meeting. I don't know. Depending what kind of figures come in off of that bid will determine what length of time administration needs to evaluate things and what direction I need to bring forward to council for decision-making purposes. So great to have that one moving forward. If there are any other questions, I will do my best to answer.
Thank you, Mark. Any further questions? Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question with respect to the clearing of snow from private lands to public lands. How is the social media engagement, has it helped with letting people know, specifically like Newell Resort, that do not dump your snow on public land versus keeping it on your private land? Has that helped?
Thanks. I'll just be honest and say that I don't believe it's helped. Municipal enforcement gets around and serves warnings and stuff. We're trying to be considerate. We know that there are a lot of private infractions occurring. It's multiple vehicles. It's the toys that are owned by property owners. It's having driveways full width across the property line and eliminating green space from their properties that doesn't help with snow storage because it should be kept on your property. That green space was where it was supposed to be. And it just doesn't help. Even with watershed in rain events and stuff, there is more water being directed to stormwater ditches and stuff it doesn't help. That's not the way things were designed. And it's what gets approved by homeowners associations, condominium associations. Some of it does make it through this office, which we catch, and other stuff just gets done.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, thanks, Mark. Do we have a motion to approve the municipal or accept the municipal director's report? Greg?
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. 10.2. Yeah, let's go back to 10.2. Stephanie, welcome this morning.
Good morning. First order of business here is I am requesting council's approval to write off some overdue general receivable accounts that we have. Our current policy, 2021 PAD 019, collection of overdue receivables requires council's approval to write off overdue accounts that exceed $500. I currently have 4 of them that I would like council's approval to write off. They're in your Appendix A.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions, or go ahead, Kelly?
I'm not sure who might be able to answer this. The first one, it says Volker did not attend the situation. Since when does Volker make that decision? If fire and police attend a situation, is that not a situation? So that's my question. Why is Volker a player in this decision?
Matt, you could.
Yeah, Volker will show up for traffic direction. With respect to the write-off of the account, I'd have to go digging with Stuart on that one.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, someone prepared? Oh, go ahead, Adina.
I was just going to make the motion. I don't have a question, if you're ready for that.
I'm ready for the motion, I believe, yeah.
So I make the motion, we go ahead with as recommended.
To remove the receivable accounts, all in favor of that motion, please indicate. Opposed? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Next up, 10.3, collection. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So as Finance has been reviewing some of the policies that we have, I'm here to recommend some updates with this previous policy that we had. So we're recommending a few minor edits. One in particular, we've just removed the manager of finance, saying that we no longer have that position, and we changed it to the chief administrative officer. And then I've recommending the increase to the thresholds of what we would need to bring to council for approval and what the CAO could approve.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions? Holly, go ahead, please.
Hi, so you're putting all the 3 policies together then, is that correct? When you're bringing them up, not going in order? Because I had a question just about 10.5. So are you putting them all together? Are we discussing them one by one? Okay.
One at a time, eh? Kelly, please.
A motion to approve this policy?
Okay, policy 048-24. I think that we're discussing these.
Individually.
Yeah, let's discuss these individually. Discuss them individually, and then, so the first one was a collection of overdue receivables. Then the collection of, okay, no, it's the same one. Sorry, yep. So that's the motion, policy 048-24.
Correct.
All in favor of the motion, please indicate. Sorry, my mistake. That's carried. Thank you. Thanks. Stephanie, go ahead. Next.
Okay, so the second policy I'm here to update is the charitable donation receipt policy. And again, we just made some minor edits where we've removed the manager of finance position, and where it referenced the manager of finance, we've changed it to the controller.
Okay, thank you. Is there a, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion I'd like to move that 10.4.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you.
Okay, so the final policy here I'm looking to be updated in council's approval is the approval, funding, and reporting of budget variances policy. And in this case, again, we just updated where it referenced the manager of finance, we changed it to the controller, and we did update a couple of the threshold amounts inside there, so, and change them due to inflationary reasons.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Holly, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious, have we already been doing this quarterly? Or has it been, I guess that's, we've already been following that policy, the change already, right?
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the most significant change in this policy, apart from inflating the dollar thresholds, is the strikeout of the requirement for your CAO to let you know the immediate following meeting if I've approved, you know, Todd or Mark to. The example I'll use for 2024, we had some money in budget to do some inspections on HVAC units. One of them was at the GEM Fire Hall. Well, when you start looking at things is when you start finding things, and out of the inspection is a list of deficiencies they needed to respond to, and they come to me and say, we didn't have money in budget to repair the HVAC system. What do we do? I said, well, you repair the HVAC system. I approve it under this policy. So what we're proposing here is included in that quarterly financial package, we'll have a schedule, a one-page that shows this is what Matt has approved within that $95,000 of additional spending authority, and it will be detailed for you. So that would be in addition to your quarterly financial information package. And it saves me from being accountable to bring it to you at the meeting following. Just incorporates it into the existing process.
Okay, thanks. Holly, go ahead.
I'll move approval of policy 050.24.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Let's move on to item number 10.6, advanced preparations for the local authorities election, October 20th, 2025. Welcome, Lane.
Good morning. So 2025 is election year, and there's a few decisions that council needs to make regarding preparations that are required for that. Seems like the Local Authorities Election Act goes through changes periodically. In the most recent one, there is an opportunity, if council so chooses, to require candidates to provide a criminal record check. We would recommend that that not be necessary. There's a few other things that are listed in the report, but we can go through those individually. We're just looking for direction on council or from council on how you wish to respond to these items that are listed in the report.
Thank you, Lane. Questions? Go ahead, Holly.
I just had one in regards to location of voting stations. So I understand previously there was only one per area in the previous elections, and now you're thinking of adding a second, like in the new division with Castles being in with the other communities to do too. Is that the only place we're talking about? Is that location?
Good question. We haven't really sat down and taken a close look at where the stations are going to be required. We just need to make sure that there are enough stations and that they are conveniently located. We would be doing that work in advance.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Ellen, please.
Excuse me. Would you like to know at this point what we're thinking? Because I know the new Division 9 has the Rosemary place where they used to vote, and also the GEM location. So I would suggest to keep it that way, so that the GEM people can vote in GEM and the Rosemary people in Rosemary, because it is a bit of a distance.
Okay, thanks. Ellen, I would agree with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's certainly appropriate. You want to make voting as convenient as possible, and we would do whatever we can to make sure that that's happening.
Right. Okay. Are there any of others of these that we are concerned about? Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I'm just wondering, do you want a motion for each division, or for each question, I should say? You've got them outlined under your response options. And if you want an individual motion, I'm prepared to make a motion to appoint Shannon Biet as the returning officer and Ariana Nielsen as the substitute returning officer. Would that be appropriate?
Correct. That's the motion that we would need council to approve today. If there is direction that you're going to be taking on some of these other issues, we would require second motions on those, but the appointment of the returning officer and the substitute are the two that we do require.
Okay, you make that motion? So moved, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate. Thank you. Okay, what else do we need to?
Unless council is wanting candidates to submit a criminal record check, I think it's just status quo and everything else.
I would agree with you with regard to your comments on the criminal record check. It's tends to be activity much of the time rather than really yeah, go ahead.
You said status quo, but you're looking at changing or adding voting stations. So is that included with your, when you're saying status quo, or do we want to indicate that we think we should have more than one voting station?
Go ahead, Wayne.
In the past, what we have done, there has been a polling station in each community, and we've also provided an opportunity for individuals that might be in Brooks to vote here for their division as well. So that's already occurring.
So, yeah, so that's right. So status quo is there's no changes being proposed there. It's just the two, right? Yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Lane. We are up to 10.7 councillor payment sheets. Is there any discussion that needs to happen around that or a motion? Dina, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve them.
Okay, for the approval of the councillor payment sheets, all in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Requests for functions of council. What do we have in that regard that we have not already dealt with? Are there any? Any requests for functions of council? Holly? Holly, go ahead, sorry.
I think it was covered last time with the Water Act, but just in case people don't know, the new engagement is on Monday in Fort McLeod, and we need lots of people to attend. I'm going to send out a new document which has some talking points which I hadn't seen previously that maybe we can use.
Okay, thank you. And Neil?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Water Act meeting should be a function of council for anybody that wants to go.
It already is actually, so yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks. Are there any others? Seeing none, we can move on to, let's see, where are we? Are there any, is there anything that needs to be highlighted under the information items that are presented there? Seeing none, we're a little ahead of schedule today.
Take 5 and come back.
I'm going to suggest we take 5 minutes and come back at 11:30 for our public hearing. Yeah, bang, bang, yeah.
Might have to bring out the big guns.
Yeah. Let's call this meeting back to order, please. Don't dirty the gavel. Okay, I will look to council for a motion that we move into a public hearing. Lynette, thank you. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. I will just remind council that a public hearing is for the purposes of the opportunity for the public to present their position or perspective with regard to the matters that we are having the public hearing on. And today, to begin with, Bylaw 2080-24, the local road improvement at the North Headgates. Maria, if you'll summarize. Oh. I'm sorry, I missed a page. Yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. The purpose of this application is to close the road allowances outlined in the attached maps and lease to the applicant to facilitate new and existing irrigation practices. The subject lands are in Division 2, north of Tilly. All parcels in the area are zoned agriculture, and the total road allowance encompasses 1.6 kilometers and 8 acres. The applicant has installed 2 new pivots in which the pivots are encroaching and irrigating over the road allowance. The road closure will not impact legal access to any of the lands adjacent to the proposed road closure. This was circulated to adjacent landowners and required referrals, and no comments came out of the circulation process. It is recommended that should no concerns be heard during the public hearing, that public hearing be closed and first reading be given to the closure and lease of the portions of road allowance.
Thank you, Maria. And with that, I'll invite anyone from the public to make comments or provide their perspective with regard to this proposal. And if there are none, there are none on the electronic media. So if there's anyone here who wants to speak to that, you're welcome to do that now, but I see none. So let's move to the next one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This road closure bylaw 2081-24 is to close the road allowances outlined in the schedules and lease to the applicant to facilitate new and existing irrigation practices. The subject lands are in Division 7, approximately 8.5 kilometers south of Rosemary. All the parcels are zoned agriculture. The total road allowance is 1.6 kilometers and includes 8 acres. The portion of road allowance that is actively being irrigated is 4 acres. The applicant is applying to convert terminable acres to first water rights with the EID. The existing pivot is encroaching and irrigating over the road allowance. The road closure will not impact legal access to any of the lands adjacent to the proposed road closure. There is a noted wetland on the road allowance to be closed and on the adjacent parcels. The applicant will have to adhere to the Alberta Wetland Policy and the Alberta Water Act if additional work is to be done in that area. It is recommended that if no concerns are raised during the public hearing, that it be closed and first reading be given to the road closure and lease.
Thank you, Maria. And similarly, if are there any comments, or does anyone have a perspective to present with regard to this proposal? Nothing online either, I don't think. So seeing none, I think that we can entertain a motion to move out of a public hearing. Amanda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor that we move out of a public hearing, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Appreciate that. Let's now move on to the appropriate first reading for bylaw 2080-24. Is someone prepared to make that motion? Amanda, Dina, please.
You're funny.
Name change. It's not official, so, yeah.
I will make that motion. Adina will make that motion.
Thank you. I'll accept it from Adina. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Similarly, item number 8.2, a bylaw for bylaw 2082-24, the road closure and lease. First reading on east of 1, 16 west of 4. Someone prepared to make that motion? Amanda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Maria. Yeah, Shannon, come on up for bylaw 2084-24, a local improvement at the North Headgates. North Headgates. Now we've got it right. This is the one, yeah.
All right, so bylaw 202722 was approved in 2022, and it began collecting the funds required to complete the North Headgates project. This amendment before you today is to adjust for the interest rate difference, the final costs, and the division of the levy among the 44 parcels created by the subdivision.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions? Anyone have any questions? This is pretty straightforward. Cool. Pardon me? Sorry.
I said don't ask twice.
No, that's right. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Holly.
I'd like to move first reading.
Thank you. All in favor of that motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Schedule of fees. Shall we move to that? Matt, go ahead. Item number 8.4.
Yeah, so each year in conjunction with the interim budget, we review our schedule of fees. You will see in the marked up copy the numbers which we have changed. We've updated your utility rates, which you'll find on page 11. Fire charges for the updated Alberta transportation billing rates there on page 9. Dust abatement inflated by about 3% there on page 13. Removed some GIS imagery billing. We were not going to sell our digital imagery. Previously, we had a fee there for each quarter section. And then page 16, we've proposed a more detailed charge for our extracurricular use of the minibus, where previously we just hit people up with the standard charge, $22 for the ride. That works for getting people to and from town, but if somebody needs the bus for an 8-hour day with our staff member taking them to, I don't know, Rosebud Theater or wherever folks might book the bus to go, we've got an hourly rate there proposed for you, an admin charge to cover the booking and the billing, and a per kilometer charge there for you. So that would summarize the changes, and we're looking for first reading today.
Thank you, Matt. Are there any questions with regard to this? Go ahead, Holly.
Just on, it's not a new change, it's on page 12, the garbage collection for the hamlet of Tilly. I just wanted to confirm that's a complete cost recovery.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, that's confirmed. Are there any other questions? Greg, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my question is just in regards to the water, the base rate for water, the base charge, $40.29 for hamlets, and then it is cheaper for the rural water. Why aren't those the same? Why is one higher price than the other?
Go ahead, Matt, please.
The underlying systems are different. So the rural water system is low flow potable water. You're capped at 300 gallons, and your hamlet water system, you've got pressured additional costs included there. So we look at each of the systems on their own. For council's information, I'll remind you, utilities are subsidized in the county. We have not reached cost recovery yet. We have made some significant changes in past years, some pretty big jumps in the utility rates, and we are being disciplined with ensuring we're applying an inflationary increase year after year. When it comes to the long-term sustainability of those hamlet systems, the goal is to reach cost recovery. It's going to take some time to get there, and you likely have some hamlet systems that will not cost recovery. You don't have the number of residents and the economies of scale to get there. So pick on Rainier, which has, I think, a dozen services. You are not going to, I think, find it politically palatable to set the rate that would need to be set to cost recover in Rainier. And to throw Rainier a bone, they do have the bulk water fill out there, which provides a level of service there as well. So.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Are there any other questions? Go ahead, Lynette, please.
Is this where we should be talking about the cost for leasing road allowances? No?
No. Okay, Matt?
I'll give the short answer. No, our planning and development staff are still working on that policy, which, you know, in a perfect world, we would have had that to you a couple of months ago, but in process.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Is there anyone that is prepared to make the motion to approve first reading for bylaw 086-24? Lynette, please.
I'll make the motion for bylaw 2086-24.
Which is our schedule of fees. Thank you. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. With that, we will move a little bit ahead of schedule to our delegation with the Fire and Emergency Services. Welcome, Stuart, and the other guests that are with us this morning. Let's do a round of introductions. I think that's appropriate, and start with you over there to the right, Neil.
Good to see everybody. Neil Johnson, Division 10.
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Division 8.
Good morning, Ellen Unruh, and I represent the area around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, good morning. Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake New Resort and Castles area.
Good morning, Kelly Chrisman, Division 6, the northwest side of the county.
Arno Dirksen, the GEM area, Division 9.
Welcome, Matt Fensky, Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning, Holly Johnson, Division 4, Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Hello, Adina Scandrup, Division 2, the area including the hamlet of Tilly.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant. Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Do we have a roving microphone to invite everyone to introduce themselves?
I'm Stuart Lukes, Regional Fire Chief.
Go ahead,
Brad Deshawn, EID, Patricia area.
John Ketchmark, EID, Bow City, Rainier, Scandia.
Jim Aylman, Canadian Natural Resources.
Darren Cockrell, Canadian Natural Resources, foreman for the Brooks area.
Lane Johnson, the Director of Corporate Services.
Ashley Ferguson, Fire and Safety Administrative Assistant.
Excellent, thank you, and welcome again, everyone. Stuart, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I should also point out that John Ketchmark, current Fire Chief of Bow City, and Brad Deschamps, previous Fire Chief for the Patricia Fire Department. So I've lost my other names. I was going to do a plug there that anybody can join the fire department. Anyways. So Fire Emergency Services would like to formally recognize and express our gratitude to our generous donators. And I'd actually like to say that they're key partners or key cogs in the fire service wheel every year. EID and both EID and CNRL step up and give very generous donations to us. So these contributions play a vital role in enhancing our operational capabilities and ensure the safety, well-being of our community. We appreciate the commitment and support from these organizations, which significantly aid in our ongoing efforts to provide exceptional emergency services. This recognition is not only a tribute to their generosity, but also an encouragement to their continued partnership in safeguarding our communities. So to highlight, Eastern Irrigation District Fire and Emergency Services would like to express their heartfelt gratitude for EID for their unwavering support for fire services in the County of Newell. Their contributions have made an impact that we truly appreciate of the assistance that they have provided this year in 4 remarkable ways. 1, in the spring, EID generously offered a portion of their land for our wildland firefighting course, or 1051s that we perform, to which enabling 8 County of Newell firefighters to participate in this vital training, which was a collaboration with Cypress County. We had Cypress County and the County of Newell together to actually do this exercise. EID generously gave us a bunch of land there to try and burn up the best we can. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, the day of the burn, it wasn't too conducive to actually burning really well, but it got the job done to certify our firefighters. The second is recognizing the challenges faced by our fire departments and internet access. EID took the initiative to extend free internet to all fire departments within the county. This invaluable service will greatly enhance our capability, allowing for crucial iPad updates in our apparatuses and improved training opportunities through online resources. We are excited about this implementation planned for 2005 as we continue to work towards that. Number 3, they also collaborated with Halo Air Ambulance for the fundraiser, including a first responders recognition evening. EID stepped up very generously, contributing $2,500 to honor our first responders and an additional $10,000 to support Halo efforts. Their commitment is recognized, and supporting our community's heroes is commendable. Finally, EID played a role in funding new regional safety trailer that the City of Brooks acquired this year. This resource will be invaluable in educating both young and old about safety, and we are grateful for EID's support in making this possible for all fire departments. I should note with that one, that donation was extended from both CNRL and EID. With CNRL, typically we get somewhat of a donation every year for training purposes or equipment that we might not be able to get through council, and I graciously waived that so that the City of Brooks would be able to have a little better leverage, or maybe a little more donation from CNRL to make the disaster trailer, education trailer, a reality, which is really a regional approach that we can use within all the schools and communities within the County of Newell. We sincerely appreciate EID's continuous dedication to enhancing the fire service and supporting our community. Their generosity is a testament to their commitment to our safety and well-being, and we are incredibly thankful. The second group is Canadian National Resources Limited. The Fire Emergency Services also would like to express the same heartfelt gratitude that they have shown the County of Newell. Their generous contributions over the years have profoundly impacted our service, and we are sincerely thankful for this. So this year, the Canadian National Resources demonstrated commitment by collaborating with the First Responders Halo event as well. They generously gave $5,000 donation, not only honoring our dedicated frontline emergency responders, but also significantly contributing to the success of the Halo fundraiser. We are truly grateful for their support with that. And additionally, their support extends to that regional safety trailer that I talked about. I just didn't make a donation this year, telling Kevin that I would allow him to try and get the best bang for his buck on donations from CNRL for that disaster trailer. We greatly appreciate. Fire Emergency Services would like to expend their gratitude to both of these organizations with their generous platinum contributions, which have significantly enhanced our firefighter training programs and improved our potential capabilities. Your support has provided reliable internet service, allowing us to efficiently maintain electronic equipment, better prepare for teams or emergency situations. Additionally, your generosity has enabled us to recognize and honor the unsung heroes within our community, those dedicated individuals who tirelessly work to protect the lives and property of others. We deeply appreciate your unwavering commitment to our mission, as it is truly making a meaningful difference in the lives of our firefighters and the communities that they serve. It is with great pride that we present you with the plaque in recognition of this platinum level of contributions. And Ashley has those plaques that she can hand off. I don't want to get too terribly close right now. I'm not feeling the best.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. And I will add, we are extremely pleased and proud of our volunteer fire services in this county, in this region, as I know that we all are. We all share in the benefit and the response, or the good things that come to us in tough times as a result of that, and we also very much appreciate the organizations that help us and partner with us to provide those services, and specifically today to the Eastern Irrigation District and CNRL. Thank you for your generous contributions to our community. Thank you. What do we give? A round of applause. Thank you very much. And I'm going to suggest that we present these plaques at this point, and then we'll...
Would you like to come and present them there?
Go ahead. You're the fire chief. I'll be ready.
We at the EID would like to thank the quick response of fire services. Due to road ditch fires and stuff this year, we did not have.
You're not on if you're not on
We at the EID would like to thank the fire services for their quick responses to the roadside fires that we had occurred this year. Due to their quick responses, we did not have one grass fire out of control or that got into EID LEASE this year, period.
Okay, just for, I think we've come very, oh, sorry? Oh, do you want to go out? Let's, we've come very close to the end of our agenda. I'm going to suggest that we could adjourn, and then we can pick up the in-camera sessions after it, during, as part of our Committee of the Whole discussion immediately following lunch. So with that, a motion to adjourn would be in order. I'll adjourn the meeting at 5 to 12.